the Small Medium Enterprise Export Facility. It's a nexim facility that provides risk-bearing structures, instruments, to exporters in cocoa, cashew, sesame, and hibiscus. These commodities are in high demand in Europe. As a lot of you may know, cocoa is processed in Europe or grown in Africa. These commodities can be processed in Nigeria, can be processed in Ivory Coast and other cocoa nations. And that's what we have done in the Nigerian Export-Import Bank. It will interest you to note that in the last 7 years, we have succeeded in commissioning over 7 cocoa processing plants that today take cocoa from its raw form to cocoa powder, cocoa liquor, and cocoa butter for exports. We have not started because our aim is to see that we complete the entire value chain whereby Nigeria will be having the best of cocoa bars, your chocolate bars, leaving the shores of Nigeria, leaving the shores of Africa to Europe. I'll give you a brief, I might not be too factual with the statistics. The entire cocoa value chain is in billions of dollars. But what comes to Africa is barely less than 10% of the total sum. What this means is that we actually have the unbanked exporters who are the cocoa farmers, farming and enriching pockets, deep pockets, across Europe and America. But we're changing the narrative with our giant strike. And so we believe that with the alternative instruments we have created, trade finance to farmers in Jigawa State, for example, where sesame is grown, we've been able to ensure that they no longer export sesame in its raw form, but are exporting sesame oil, sesame cake, and sesame powder from Nigeria to Asia and to Europe. We've also supported the establishment of over 7 shared butter processing plants in Nigeria. Thanks to the current administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, today it is illegal to export raw shared nuts from Nigeria. You must add value, you must process before export. Though it's a 6-month ban, we hope we would extend that and extend it to other commodities where we can actually add value before we export. Today, our shared bottles are leaving Nigeria directly to buyers in Jamaica and Trinidad, as well as Europe and Asia. We prioritize the value-added exports from Nigeria because we understand that that is the only way we can lock in jobs for our people, attract our diaspora communities to come in, add value, and use their large networks to export our produce from Nigeria. We no longer boast of exporting our raw commodities, but now we boast of exporting finished and semi-finished goods from Nigeria to Europe, Asia, and America. This is a model that can be scaled. This is a model that requires a lot of our activities, a lot of our actions, a lot of our engagements. This is opportunity at your fingertip, and that's why I'm here today. To let you know that the Nigerian Export-Import Bank is willing to work with as many diasporas to establish more processing plants for export of our produce from Nigeria. Yes, we have a comparative advantage in agriculture, but it will also interest you to know that beyond agriculture, we have solid minerals. We have services, exporting services. We have also manufactured goods that can leave Nigeria to the world. We're also working with a whole lot of recycling plants that today are recycling our pet waste products into pellets and fibers and exporting them to Europe. We're also working with the steel factories in Nigeria to export they add more values to the goods for final products in their cars. But we want to see how we can also attract them to come back to Nigeria to finish the entire processing and be part of our automobile industry revolution. The second lesson we learned is that technology is a bridge. Through digital platforms, mobile payments, and e-trade portals, previously unbanked entrepreneurs, for example, cassava processors in Delta, the shea butter cooperatives in the north, or the fashion designer in Lagos, can now be profiled, verified, and linked to buyers and financiers. Technology has reduced the information asymmetry that has historically kept them out. Let us pause and think for a minute. Think of the young designer in Lagos creating Afro-Caribbean fashion, or the cassava processor in Delta producing high-value quality starch. With digital platforms, they are no longer invisible. They are visible, they are credible, and they are investable. You can actually shape them and partner with them or collaborate with them to expand their businesses and get more income for yourselves on the side. This opens opportunities for UK fintech firms as well as Nigerian diasporas, as well as Caribbean financial hubs, to collaborate with African development banks like nexim to build more inclusive digital ecosystems that reach even the remote villages in Nigeria. Our third lesson is that partnerships are non-negotiable. We've learned that government policy, development financial institutions' activities, and the private sector must work together. For instance, our collaboration with the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Afro-Exim Bank, which is the Africa Export Bank, and state governments has helped us to create special intervention funds for women and youth, and other vulnerable groups most likely to be excluded by the conventional financial institutions. These results are encouraging. Today, Nigeria's non-export earnings have grown tremendously, and thousands of small exporters now access European markets and also markets in North America as well as the Caribbean. But the journey is far from over, because we understand that 41% of our MSME sector is being driven by women and youth. And these are the most dynamic groups of new exporters in the creative industries, ICT, as well as services. Yet, they are mostly excluded from finance. And so at Nexim Bank, we took it upon ourselves to launch the Women and Youth Export Development Facility. This facility has been able to support women and youth-led businesses in exporting and expanding their businesses. Today, we have our women-owned businesses as well as our youth-owned businesses doing excellently well with business, with exporting their products to the UK, to the Caribbeans, and also providing digital services across the world.